Hello, friends. We'll be discussing psychology and law. At the outset, let us discuss some three different perspectives concerning psychology and law. The first one is the psychology and law. Second, psychology of law. And the third one is the psychology in law. So, Blackburn in 1996 differentiated beautifully between these three perspectives by saying that psychology and law is the joint effort of psychology and law for psychological research related to offenders, lawyers, advocates, jury, magistrate, judges. About these all stakeholders, the psychology and law put all efforts for the research. The second one, psychology of law. Blackburn says that the psychological research into such issues why some people obey or disobey specific laws and the consequent result of either obeying or disobeying. Second aspect that comes under the domain of psychology of law is the moral development in context of the law. And the third perspective, the psychology in law. This means the specific application of psychology within law. Specific application means the usage of specific theories, laws, findings of psychology for the legal purpose or in the legal system. Historical background. The legal system and its practices are purely based upon logic and reasoning. Interestingly, legal system deals with the human being and uses the logic and reasoning derived by the human mind to control, to regulate the human beings. And no way psychology was in picture. It's a very funny thing. Law deals with human behavior and psychology is the study of behavior and related mental functions. Still, there was no role of psychology in the law. Psychology provides psycho-behavioral context to the law. It means the law is being interpreted and explained from the perspective of psychological theories, psychological findings, or psychological laws. This viewpoint, which one? The viewpoint that psychology has significant say in law, led to the emergence of a purely interdisciplinary area commonly known as the psychology and law. Then, dear friends, the emergence of psychology's role in law was the outcome of academic efforts poured in by the various researchers, psychologists across the globe at the advent of the 20th century. These people realized that law needs the support of psychology to maintain the peace and harmony in the society. So then, who were these people? Who were these futuristics? They were Sigmund Freud, Hugo Munsterberg, J.M. Cattell, J.B. Watson, H.E. Burt, A.R. Luria, and others in law. Initially, despite the contribution of these people, the legal system was reluctant to admit psychology within the purview of the law. They were not ready to accept the role. They were not ready to believe that psychology has significant role in law. The reluctance was purely on the whim and fancy of the people that belong to legal system. However, the considerable impact of eyewitness testimony on the law helped the psychology in gaining ground. You know, eyewitness testimony is the area studied by the cognitive psychology, where the individual uses his memory to describe the scene or the crime scene witnessed by the individual. Now, here comes the role of psychology. Whether the individual's account of the criminal scene has been manipulated or it's being original or as it has been observed. So, that aspect is examined by the cognitive psychology. And the considerable and the significant contribution of eyewitness testimony led not only the legal system but the other people to believe that psychology can contribute in the law. This way, psychology has traveled a long way, where the now technology enabled research is significantly not only contributing, also providing relevant evidences, proofs with the scientific understanding that psychology has its say in the law. In Indian context, Professor C.R. Mukundan, he contributed by discovering a scientific technique that is known as the brain electrical oscillation signature that helped in deciphering various cases. It's a very significant technique. Apart from that, there are various India-specific events that took place in the history of psychology and law. In 1968, a lie detection division at the Central Forensic Science Laboratory of Central Bureau of Investigation of India was established. In 1989, court mandated first narco-analysis test was done. This means the judges or the advocates or the lawyers, they took cognizance that psychology's techniques such as the narco-analysis can contribute in solving various cases. And in landmark decision or the ruling by the Supreme Court in 2010, the court ruled that psychological tests such as the lie detection, narco-analysis or the BEOS can be done on the individual only when individual consented for that. And the results so accrued from these tests can be used as the solid evidence or proof in the court of the law. This judgment of the Supreme Court paved the way for the psychologist's entry into the law. Now let us define the psychology and law. As I told you, psychology and law is an interdisciplinary subject. So it is very difficult to cover each aspect in few lines in the form of definition. However, Ogloff in 2000 attempted to define psychology and law in these words. He says that legal psychology is the scientific study of the effect of law on the people and the effect people have on the law. Legal psychology also includes the application of the study and practice of psychology to legal institutions and people who came into contact with the law. This means the finding, the research, the laws, the principles, the theories of the psychology's application in the law. Its application on the people who are related to the law. Its application on the general population and general population's impact on the psychological phenomena as well as the law. This is the definition which I found to be most appropriate. However, I have included one more definition that is given by the Farrington et al. In 1979. They say that psychological research involves applying psychology's methodologies and knowledge to studying the jurisprudence, substantive law, legal processes, and law breaking. More or less, these definitions are similar in their concept, yet differ in the words. So, dear friends, I found these two definitions to be almost appropriate to the psychology and law. Now, meaning come introduction. The psychology and law is not a specialized branch of either psychology or the law or any other system which is affiliated with the implementation and interpretation of the law of the land. What does it mean? It's not a specialized branch of these fields. Then what it is? It's an eclectic field, interdisciplinary field that encompasses the work of specialized branches of psychology. For example, if there is a requirement of forming a jury, in that case, the social psychologist is consulted. His services are being sought for obvious reasons. It has immense implication in jurisprudence in terms of providing consultancy and advisory services. The popularity and wider applications of five-stage peace model, which has been developed by the psychologist, has created a large impact on the judicial system. This model helps in investigative interview, where the law enforcement agencies and investigation agencies are finding this interview so significant and so useful that they are frequently using this model. So this all eyewitness testimony, peace model, and the various techniques help the forming a kind of faith of the individual involved in the judicial system, legal system, in the psychology. Contribution of psychology in law. The different branches of psychology have immensely contributed in legal system. I'll describe some of them. Cognitive psychology have been eyewitness testimony. Whether the individual is telling the truth or it is manipulating the information, that is to be ascertained by someone. And cognitive psychology is there to ascertain that. Then the social psychology in selecting jury, assessing the accused behavior during trial. Clinical psychology, competency to stand trial, where the individual who is being accused of the crime is competent enough to stand the trial. That has to be examined by the clinical psychologist. The concept of insanity. See, these all issues are examined by the clinical psychologist. Then developmental psychology, child witness testimony. There are various cases where children were witnesses to the criminal activities or crime scene. In that case, the children were called in the courtroom for account of the scene they have seen. That has to be accompanied and examined by the developmental psychologist. Then comes the biological psychology. Polygraph test, where your biological functions, sweating, heart rate, respiration rate, conductance, these all comes under the purview of biological psychology, and lie detection, that is the polygraph, helped a lot solving various complicated cases. Then industrial and organizational psychology, the role of workplace environment in the various conflicts, the workplace harassment, the women harassment, all these areas are being studied by the industrial organizational psychology, and the output of this is being frequently used in the legal system. Then cyber psychology, the advent of the ICT has led to the new field for the criminals, that is cyber crime. The cyber criminals are using various techniques for criminal activities. So it has a new field. So what is the mindset? What is their behavior? Who or what led them to the dark alleys of the cyber crime? That also comes under the cyber psychology. Then criminal psychology, the intention and process of the crime. Whether the criminal was committed some criminal activities, what was the intention behind doing that? Was it intentional or unintentional? That is to be examined by the criminal psychologist. Forensic psychology, one of the most important field that is regularly contributing towards the law. narcoanalysis, BEOS. These all fields comes under the forensic psychology. And forensic psychology is not only providing consultancy and advisory services to the legal system, it also helping the crime investigating agencies, law enforcement agencies in detecting the crimes and fast tracking the cases. So psychology has contributed immensely not only in the law, in the legal system, but also influencing the judicial decisions. Then, why law needs psychology? Law cannot work in a vacuum or in its own circumscribed domain. It has to seek the advisory and consultancy services from various fields, and psychology is one of them. Objective verification of legal rules. The legal rules which have been framed to regulate the and control the behavior of the human beings, whether they are efficient enough to achieve their purpose, for what they are made, for what they are framed. That verification has to be done by the psychology. Then the framing of rules and laws which are based upon the psychological assumptions. Psychological assumptions deals with human behavior. That assumptions need to be considered before or during the process of formulation and framing of the law. Then validation or contradiction of assumptions made by the courts related to the rules of conduct and behavior. Courts assume prior to deciding the fate of an individual or the accused. So psychology is there to either validate or contradict these assumptions. And psychology is doing its job perfectly well. Then there is a long held belief by the judicial system or the individuals who are involved in the judicial system that human emotions are no way correlated with the physiological function. This is a very funny thing. It has been proved scientifically that emotions are directly, I am using a word, directly related with our physiological functions. There is no way emotions can work in vacuum or separate from the physiological functions. Take an example. If you are angry, you will find that your muscles become tense. People start sweating. Hearts start beating faster. The respiration rate increases. So anger is an emotion. And all these things which are described as the physiological functions. So this thing has to be contradicted by the psychologist, and this is a wrong belief held by the judicial system people. And there's a relationship between psychology and evidence. The evidence provided by the investigating agencies or the accused or the defense, these evidences are to be examined from the perspective of psychology, and they are to be validated whether these evidences are related to the case or not, whether these evidence contains the information that is required to substantiate the case or to refute the case. So here comes the role of psychology. Detection of lying. Take the example of Aditi Sharma case. She was a management student, and the EEG was done on the Aditi Sharma, and the results of the EEG played a significant role in deciding the sentence. Then child custody case in the case of divorce. Divorce cases are increasing nowadays in India, and similarly the cases of child custody also increasing. So who out of the both the parents, or the mother or the father, should be given the custody of the child? That's a very tricky case. You can read the case of Kamal Hassan Sarika. Here comes the role of psychology. Then public perception and attitude towards various penal sanctions. If you remember, in 2012, in December, a case happened that shook whole nation's conscience, commonly known as the Nirbhaya case. A medical student was brutally raped and killed. That case created a furor in the public. The public perception concerning such cases towards the penal action were questioned, and there was so much pressure on the legal and judicial system and the government that government has to form a Justice Verma committee to examine the validity of the penal actions of such heinous crimes. And public perception was so high that the penal sanctions were rescheduled. Then trial by media and its impact on the judgment. If you remember the Commander Nanavati case, but if you don't remember that, just watch a movie named as Rustam, Akshay Kumar starrer. That movie is based on the incident of Commander Nanavati. Commander Nanavati killed his wife's lover, and the trial by media, the wide coverage by the media significantly influenced the judgment of the case. This means the media can influence the judgment. Yes, it can, and there is a case in India. And remember, the judges are also human beings. That's why here comes the role of psychology. Psychology helps in mediation, arbitration, and negotiation. At several times, psychologists are being called in various cases. Nowadays, you'll find there are women-specific police stations. There you'll find various type of issues or conflicts. Here, the psychologists play a significant role. And the psychological inputs gained through the investigative interviews, various other means helps in fast tracking the cases as well as the investigation processes. Now, what is the present situation? Most of the crime investigation agencies of India have a dedicated branch of psychology because they know psychology has very important contribution in investigation as well as the legal system. Many prominent lawyers are undertaking psychological courses and have undertaken these courses to improve their advocating skills and understanding the human behavior. Students in low degree courses are opting for this combination. Which combination? Combination of psychology and law. Because they know in future psychology is going to dominate the legal system. Psychological issues which are related to the live-in relationship. You know, the live-in relationship is an old phenomena, but it has penetrated into the smaller cities of India. Now, there are bound to come several issues related to live-in relationship. All these issues cannot be purely solved by the logic and reasoning and the law. Then comes the role of psychologist. One more very important point. Today, we cannot assume our life without artificial intelligence. Every aspect of life is not only dominated, it is regulated by the artificial intelligence. And this interaction of human behavior with the machines through the artificial intelligence is bound to erupt a new domain of conflicts. Because human behavior is being modified by the artificial intelligence. No legal system or the law can help out in these issues. I am sure within a decade you will find the legal or the lawyers who deals with the interaction of the artificial intelligence and human behavior. You will find the experts in the field. Finally, what is the scope for the students? As far as the India is concerned, various institutes offers degrees, diploma, or the certificate courses related to psychology and law. The National Forensic Science University Gujarat offers MSc in forensic psychology. Those who are interested in forensic psychology, they can seek admission in NFSU. Then Raksha Shakti University is also situated in Gujarat, offers various degree and certificate diploma programs as far as the psychology and law is concerned. Then Institute of Forensic Science, Mumbai also offers various courses in psychology and law. Lok Nayak Jayaprakash Narayan National Institute of Criminology and Forensic Science also offers various courses and degree programs. Then NLSIU Bangalore offers psychology as a part of 5-year LLB degree program. They are futuristic one. And they know that psychology is going to play a prominent and significant role in the legal system in the future. Then University of Pune offers postgraduate diploma in criminal and forensic psychology. Dear students, apart from this, there are various institutions, colleges, universities that offers courses in psychology and law. And this is the most emerging field, means students who are opting for this course can earn a good amount of living by offering their advisory and consultancy and research services. Dear friends, these are my references. If you want to gain deeper insight, you are most welcome to refer them. So, our next discussion will be eyewitness memory or eyewitness testimony. Dear friends, if you like the contents and the presentation style of this video, tell to others. But if you have some issues, some curiosity, some question or critical comments, do not hesitate. Just drop a comment in my comment box, or you can email me at wamasujit@yahoo.com. Thanks for watching.